Strike through the Tuxedo Shadow Guard pack and hold Monte Nero Casino, Grand FL. You ghost through the gilded crowd, silencer threading between champagne flutes. 3 suppressed double taps, each guard drops mid-reach into a discreet crumple behind velvet drapes and potted palms, no civilian heads turning. The grand floor is yours, hold position and scan for the fixer. Strike laser grid hazard panel at 38 meters and keep pressing the objective. You shift your angle behind a marble pillar and draw a precise bead on the laser grid hazard panel's emitter node at 38 meters. The silenced handgun's subsonic slugs punch through the casing in 3 controlled pulls, the grid dying with a low electrical hiss that no one on the floor even registers. Draw a precise bead with the lane open, you close the gap on the geopolitical fixer, who is still nursing a champagne flute near the baccarat rail, oblivious. Cover identity holds, not a single eye in the room turns your way. Blast through the geopolitical fixer pack and hold Monte Nero Casino, Grand FL. You slide between cocktail tables and put 2 subsonic rounds through the geopolitical fixer's shoulder before he can thumb the transfer key. He crumples against the baccarat rail, attaché skidding across the parquet. The flanking shadow guards clock the movement, the nearer one lunges while the far one draws a suppressed PPK of his own, catching you across the ribs before you pivot behind a column. Strike Tuxedo Shadow Guard at 28 meters and keep pressing the objective. Your silenced handgun levels on the nearest Shadow Guard, a single subsonic slug punches through his lapel and he crumples against the baccarat table without a sound, socialites none the wiser. The second guard at 44 meters clocks the movement and pivots, raising his weapon. You're already sliding behind the roulette wheel for cover, pressing toward the fixer's attaché on the floor ahead. 2 rounds left in the mag, the floor isn't clear yet. Strike Tuxedo Shadow Guard at 44 meters and keep pressing the objective. You drop to a knee behind the roulette table's heavy mahogany base, steady your breath, and put a single suppressed slug through the last Shadow Guard's temple. He folds against the base without a sound, champagne flutes still clinking around him. The fixer and the near guard are already down, the floor is quiet, civilians shaken but not stampeding. The biometric key is in the attaché, you move to collect it. Push hard to Monte Nero Casino, Grand FL and strike anything in the way. You push hard southwest through the casino floor, weaving between petrified socialites and overturned chip trays. 2 Tuxedo Shadow Guards step into your path, your silenced handgun spits 1 subsonic round, dropping the nearer one mid-stride before the slide locks back empty. The second closes fast, you pivot and deliver a clean judo chop disarm, folding him over a blackjack table before he can shout. Sweep Monte Nero Casino, Grand FL for stragglers and lock it down. Your operator pivots off the blackjack table, judo chopping the nearest Shadow Guard across the throat and relieving him of his earpiece. The man folds without a sound. The second guard at bearing 40 catches a sharp elbow to the sternum mid-draw. Both contacts are neutralized before a single socialite flinches. Grand floor, clear. Push hard to subterranean biometric vault and strike anything in the way. Your operator shoulders past overturned roulette tables and descends into the casino's service underbelly. The grand floor is cold and quiet behind him. Contact sensors ping light resistance ahead near the vault corridor, 2 biometric sentinel drones sweeping the passage in lazy arcs. Cover identity holds, they're targeting a knocked-over champagne trolley first. He closes ground fast. Push hard to subterranean biometric vault and blast anything in the way. You push Agent-00 hard through the gilded service corridor. He breaks into a low sprint past fluted pillars, weaving the marble shadows. The two biometric Sentinel drones sweep their tracking beams, but cover identity buys him a half-second edge. He draws the silenced handgun mid-stride and puts a subsonic slug through the nearer drone's tracking array, sparks cascading off polished tile. The second drone pivots. He's already past its scan window, pushing deep toward the vault descent stairwell. Blast biometric Sentinel drone at 55 meters and push forward hard. Your silenced handgun is dry, 0 rounds in the mag. You snap to the laser wrist cuff instead. At 55 meters it's a stretch for a close-range thermal arc, but you walk the beam in and cook the drone's tracking array before it can lock. The unit spirals into a gilded column and dies in a shower of sparks. You push hard down the subterranean stairwell, closing ground on the vault. Push hard to subterranean biometric vault and incinerate anything in the way. You torch the last Sentinel drone's optics with a parting wrist cuff burst and break into a dead sprint down the marble-clad corridor, thermal residue still glowing on the gilded walls. The laser grid hazard panel ahead pulses in a lethal rhythm, but you read the gap, time the strobe, and thread the needle at full speed. 40 meters eaten alive, the biometric vault is close enough to smell the server coolant. Avoid the laser grid hazard panel and secure subterranean biometric vault. You redirect your wrist cuff away from the laser grid and slip through the timed pulse window at a low crouch. The encrypted turret nest swivels, but your cover identity buys you the half-second you need. You breach the threshold of the subterranean biometric vault. The corridor opens into a humming chamber of brushed steel and blue bioluminescent scanner rings. Stage 2 objective reached. Vault is yours. Push hard to rooftop satellite relay stat and blast anything in the way. You break from the vault terminal and drive hard through the sub-level corridor, the laser wrist cuff's residual heat still singing off your cuff. The biometric Sentinel drone sweeps in from the south. You torch its tracking array mid-stride with a tight thermal arc, its optics liquefying before it can lock. Hazard panels and the turret nest fall behind as you push north toward the stairwell. The relay station rooftop is 100 meters out. Blast laser grid hazard panel at 72 meters and keep pressing the objective. The laser grid hazard panel is 72 meters back, well outside your wrist cuff's close-range thermal arc, Agent. You redirect. The silenced handgun tracks the rifleman ahead while you push hard for the relay station rooftop, the stairwell door bursting open into cold gray air. 3 rogue PMC riflemen snap to the high ground above. Biometric Sentinel drones sweep search beams across the relay scaffolding. Strike through the rogue PMC rifleman alpha pack and hold rooftop satellite relay stat. Your handgun mag is bone dry. You snap to the laser wrist cuff and burn a thermal arc clean through Rifleman Alpha's chest plate, dropping him before he clears his iron sights. The wrist cuff's heat signature draws Bravo and Charlie into crossfire position, but your cover identity buys you a split-second edge as they swing toward a spinning dish array first. You hold the relay platform, 2 PMC guns still up. Blast through the rogue PMC rifleman Charlie pack and hold rooftop satellite relay stat. You snap the wrist cuff up and sweep a thermal arc across Rifleman Charlie. The beam melts his ballistic plate and drops him in a steaming heap before he can call out. Charlie's gone, but the cuff runs dry on the follow-through. You slam behind an antenna housing as Bravo and the 2 drones tighten the arc around your position. The encrypted turret nest is still online and hungry. Strike through the rogue PMC rifleman Bravo pack and hold rooftop satellite relay stat. You're dry on the silenced handgun, no rounds left. You pivot to the laser wrist cuff and carve a thermal arc straight through biometric Sentinel drone B's tracking array, the unit spiraling off the parapet in a shower of molten chassis. Rifleman Bravo takes a grazing round from the turret nest's stray fire as you duck behind an antenna housing. The height advantage suppressing fire clips your shoulder before you can fold behind cover. Get to the supply crate and resupply. Your wrist cuff is dry, 0 charge remaining. You break cover and sprint low across the rain-slicked gantry toward the equipment crate wedged between 2 antenna housings at the relay station's north edge. The rogue PMC rifleman tracks your movement, but your cover identity holds. He swings his barrel toward the sparking uplink array instead, buying you the window you need. You crack the crate, pull a fresh thermal cell, and slam it into the cuff's emitter housing. Blast supply crate at 2 meters and keep pressing the objective. You torch the supply crate at point-blank range. The laser wrist cuff's thermal arc ignites the munitions cache in a blinding white-orange detonation, shrapnel raking the biometric Sentinel drone A and staggering the PMC rifleman in the blast radius. Smoke and fire billow across the relay gantry, buying you a half-second of chaos to press north toward the uplink array. The encrypted turret nest swivels through the haze, hunting for a lock. Incinerate rogue PMC rifleman Bravo at 18 meters and keep pressing the objective. You pivot, wrist raised, the laser wrist cuff's thermal arc cuts clean through Rifleman Bravo's chest plate at 18 meters, dropping him in a shower of cauterized sparks. Ammo spent on the cuff. Switch to the silenced handgun. The uplink array is 32 meters ahead and the turret nest is still live. Press hard before Sovereign relocks. Blast biometric Sentinel drone A at 18 meters and keep pressing the objective. Your silenced handgun is dry, 0 rounds chambered. You pivot to the laser wrist cuff, swinging the thermal arc across biometric Sentinel drone A at 18 meters. The emitter node liquefies in a single burst and the drone spirals into the wet rooftop, dead. The encrypted turret nest swings its barrel toward the movement. You're exposed, but the uplink array is barely 28 meters ahead. Avoid the encrypted turret nest and secure rooftop satellite relay stat. You sidestep the encrypted turret nest's barrel sweep, rolling behind a defunct satellite dish as its tracking arc passes wide. Switching to the silenced handgun, you raise up from cover and put 3 subsonic slugs directly into the uplink array's primary feed junction. Components crack and spark under the suppressed fire. The array's status lights strobe red, structure visibly compromised. Reload the silenced handgun from the ammo we have from the supply crate. Jab 00 Boost Health Pack. You crack open the supply crate wedged behind the relay conduit housing. A fresh mag drops into your palm and you slam it home with practiced silence. A field issue 00 division stim patch hits your neck next, cold biochem flooding the bloodstream and pulling you back from the edge. The encrypted turret nest is still sweeping blind, and the uplink array's conduit glows at 55 HP. 1 concentrated burst will end this. Avoid the encrypted turret nest and secure rooftop satellite relay stat. You slide left along the relay housing, keeping the dish cluster between you and the turret's sweep arc. It tracks north while you ghost south of its blind spot. Silenced handgun up, you put 3 subsonic slugs into the uplink array's primary feed conduit. Sparks cascade, the flickering intensifies, and structural integrity drops hard. The array is close to critical failure. Incinerate uplink array at 20 meters and push forward hard. You swap to the laser wrist cuff and press the thermal arc against the uplink array's feed conduit. The housing erupts in a cascade of liquefied circuitry and cascading blue electrical fire, the Sovereign targeting feed severed. The encrypted turret nest swings toward the heat bloom, but your cover identity buys you a half second. You're already rolling northwest, deeper into the relay station's shadow corridor. Push hard to private military black site and incinerate anything in the way. You sprint northwest across the rain-slicked rooftop, laser wrist cuff blazing. A thermal arc catches the encrypted turret nest dead in its tracking array, the housing erupting in a cascade of molten circuits before it can reacquire. The biometric Sentinel drone drifts into your flanking arc and you peel its optics off in one precise sweep. The two PMC riflemen open up, but your cover identity holds. They're spraying at muzzle flash, not at you. Blast rogue PMC rifleman at 55 meters and keep pressing the objective. The laser wrist cuff is a close-range blade. At 55 meters it's a wild shot, but you twist the beam wide and walk it across the rifleman's cover, melting the parapet edge and forcing him to break. The suppressed handgun is the call here. You swap mid-stride, drop a subsonic slug through the gap, and the first rifleman folds into the rain-slicked gravel. The second, 10 meters further back, pins you with suppressing fire. A round clips your shoulder as you sprint, but you're 40 meters closer to the black site now, the airfield lights cutting through the downpour ahead. Break away and take cover, pop flashbang cufflink, then re-engage from safety. You brake hard left, sliding behind a shattered comm array as the flashbang cufflink detonates. A searing magnesium burst floods the rooftop, punching white across Voss's tactical uplink and stripping the rifleman's targeting lock clean. IRONVEIL banks wide, its ballistic sensors momentarily blinded by the flash. From cover, your silenced handgun finds the rifleman's exposed silhouette, two suppressed slugs, center mass, and he folds behind the parapet. Stay on the director Voss, the architect, strike it relentlessly and don't let up. You press the attack on Voss, he's still reeling from the flashbang, comm uplink dark, and you close the gap with predatory comm. 3 suppressed slugs walk up his sternum before he can cycle to a new stolen buff. He staggers into the personnel hatch, one hand clawing at the door frame. He's still breathing, but the architect is bleeding out his borrowed time. Break away and take cover, pop flashbang cufflink, then re-engage from safety. You brake hard left behind a riveted equipment housing, boots skidding on rain-slick tarmac. The flashbang cufflink detonates midair between you and Voss, a searing white magnesium burst that washes the rooftop in blinding light. Voss staggers, his tactical uplink scrambled, stolen buff package momentarily dark, all targeting locks shattered. You press your back to cold steel, breathing controlled, 2 rounds in the chamber, waiting for your moment. Stay on the director Voss, the architect, strike it relentlessly and don't let up. 2 rounds left in the mag, you make them count. The silenced handgun coughs twice in rapid succession, both slugs drilling into Voss's center mass while he's still reeling from the flashbang. He staggers backward across the rain-slicked tarmac, coat soaked dark, tactical uplink sparking dead at his wrist. He's still breathing, barely, but that rogue intelligence chief is running out of time and options. Break away and take cover, pop flashbang cufflink, then re-engage from safety. You pivot hard behind a ventilation stack as Voss staggers, ripping the flashbang cufflink from your sleeve and hurling it toward the airfield deck. A searing magnesium bloom detonates between you and the boss, torching every targeting reticle on the rooftop. Voss reels blind, his tactical uplink severed, status buffs stripped raw. You press your back to corrugated steel, reload your last spare mag from a thigh pocket, and line up a fresh shot through the dying white glare. Stay on the director Voss, the architect, strike it relentlessly and don't let up. You stay locked onto Voss, 3 suppressed rounds crack into his chest while he's still staggered from the flashbang, the subsonic slugs punching through his Kevlar layers. He staggers back toward the gunship pad, blood dark on his tuxedo, tactical uplink flickering. He's running out of borrowed time. IRONVEIL is still disabled, this window won't last. Break away and take cover, pop flashbang cufflink, then re-engage from safety. You brake hard left behind a ventilation stack, boots skidding on rain-slicked tarmac. The flashbang cufflink detonates between you and Boss in a magnesium-white supernova, shredding his tactical uplink and blowing apart his rotating buff cycle. Through your earpiece you hear him scream something in Russian. When the spot's clear he's hunched, blinded, his stolen status package wiped clean. You reacquire from behind the stack at 12 meters and put 2 subsonic slugs into his center mass before he can re-establish targeting. Stay on the director Boss, the architect, strike it relentlessly and don't let up. You stay locked on Boss, no pause, no mercy. 3 suppressed slugs tear through his sternum in tight succession, the subsonic cracks swallowed by the rain and the idling turbines. He crumples against the ventilation stack, hand still reaching for a dead man uplink that will never transmit.